Welcome to UPSC IMP Current Affairs Relevant Static Topics 11. New topic. Tughlaq dynasty was a Muslim royal family of Turco-Mongol or Turkic descent that held a sway over the Delhi Sultanate during the medieval India. The dynasty came into power in Delhi in 1320 Common Era. Their region continued until 1412 Common Era, when the dynasty came to an end. Tughlaq provided three components rulers: Ghiyasuddin, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Ghiyasuddin, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred the capital from Delhi to Devgiri. As Devgiri had been base for the expansion of the Turkish rule in the South India, the attempt to bring the entire South India under the control had led to serious political difficulties. Later, Devgiri was renamed to Daulatabad. Soon, he decided to abandon Daulatabad. Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred the capital from Delhi to Devgiri. Muhammad bin Tughlaq introduced a token currency in order to avoid dependency upon the supply of the gold and silver. There was a shortage of the silver in the world in the 14th century. Later, people started forging the coins. This experiment turned out to be a failure. Muhammad bin Tughlaq introduced token currency. Firoz Shah Tughlaq extended the principle of heredity to the army. Old soldiers were allowed to rest in the peace and to send in their place their son or son-in-law, and if they were not available, their slaves. During the times of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, jizya became a separate tax. Earlier, it was a part of jizya, since this was not provided for the Sharia. In Sharia, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, jizya become a separate tax. Next new topic. Chola kingdom was called Chola Mandalam or Coromandalam. It was situated on the northeast of the territory of the Pandyas between the Pennar and Vellore rivers. We have some idea of the political history of the Cholas, whose chief center of the political power lay at Uriyur, a place famous for cotton. Uriyur, a place famous for cotton trade. It seems that in the middle of the 2nd century before Common Era, Chola king named Ilara conquered Sri Lanka and ruled over it for nearly 15 years. Chola king Ilara conquered Sri Lanka and ruled over it for nearly 15 years. A formal history of the Cholas begins in the 2nd century AD with their famous king Karikala, who flourished around AD 100. He founded Puhar and constructed a 116 km embankment along the Kaveri River. Karikala founded Puhar and constructed 160 km embankment along the Kaveri River. This was built with a labor of 12,000 slaves who were brought as captives from Sri Lanka. Puhar is identical with Kaveri Pattanam, which was the Chola's capital. It was a great center of trade and commerce, and excavations show that it had a large dock. Chera or the Kerala country was situated to the west and north of the land of the Pandyas. It included narrow strip of the land between the sea and mountains and covered a portion of modern Kerala state. In early century of the Christian era, the Chera country was an important as country of the Cholas and Pandyas. It owned its important to trade with the Romans. The Romans set up two regiments at Muziris, identically with the Cranganoro, the Chera country, to protect their interests. It is said that they also built their temple of Augustus. According to the Chera poets, their greatest king was Senuguttavan, the Red Chera. He routed his rival and established his cousin secularly on the throne. Chalukya set up their kingdom toward the beginning of the 6th century AD in the western Deccan. They established their capital Vatapai, modern Badami, in the district of the Bijapur, which forms a part of Karnataka. Chalukya's kingdom capital Vatapai. Later, they branch off into several independent ruling houses, but the main branches continue to rule at Vatapai for 2 centuries. In this period, no other power in the Deccan was so important as the Chalukyas of the Badami until we come to Vijayanagara in late medieval times. Publication to 609 to 642, is the most famous Chalukya's king. He is known to us for his eulogy written by the court poet Ravi Kirtan in his Aihole inscription. This inscription is an example of poetic excellence, rich in Sanskrit, and in spite of its exaggeration, is valuable source of the biography of Pulakeshin. Pulakeshin to Chalukya's king, poet Ravi Kirti, Aihole inscription. Pulakeshin overthrew the Kadamba capital of Banavasi and compelled the Gangas of Mysore to acknowledge his suzerainty. He also defeated Harsha's army on the Narmada and checked his advance toward the Deccan. In his conflict with the Palwas, he almost reached the Palwas capital, but the Palwas purchased peace by ceding their northern provinces to Pulakeshin. Next new topic. Kuchipudi derived its name from the village of Kuchelapuram in Andhra Pradesh, India. As a classical form of dance, drama and music, Kuchipudi enjoyed the unique place amongst the Indian classical items. Kuchipudi grew largely as a product of the Bhakti movement beginning in the 7th century AD. However, it was in the 14th century that the aesthetic Siddhendra Yogi appears on the scenes and gave Kuchipudi a new definition and direction. Siddhendra Yogi. Kuchipudi, Andhra Pradesh. Kuchipudi was originally male dance tradition. Groups of the men traveled from village to village, enacting stories from the Hindu mythology. As Elizabethan theatre, men portrayed the roles of the woman. It was the only in the last 9 to 10 decades that women were introduced to this art form. Kuchipudi in the present form is the result of the vision of stalwart like Vemapanti China Satyam and the late Vedantam Lakshminarayan Shastri. It consists of both the male and female performer. Recital of the Kuchipudi begins with the evocatory number as in done in some of the other classical dance styles. Earlier, the evocation was limited to Ganesha Vandana. Now, other gods are also evoked. It is followed by Nritya, that is non-narrative and abstract dancing. Usually, Jati Swaram is performed as the Nritya number. Next is prescribed a narrative number called Shabdam. Shabdam is followed by Natya number called Kalapam. Many Kuchipudi dancers prefer to perform an entry of Satyabham from tradition of dance drama Bhamapa Kalapam. Next in the sequence comes pure Nritya Abhinay number based on literally come musical forms like a Padam, Javli, Slokam, etc. In such a number, each of the sung words is delineated in space through a dance, Drishya Kavita, visual poetry. Kuchipudi recital is usually concluded with the Tranangam. Excerpts of Krishna Lila Taranganis are sung with this number. In this, the dancer usually stand on a brass plate, locking the feet in Shakata Vadanam Pada and moves the plate rhythmically with a great dexterity. Rukmini Devi Arundale was a Bharatnatyam dancer. Rukmini Devi Arundale, Bharatnatyam dancer. The music that accompanies the dance is according to classical school of Carnatic music and is delightfully syncopated. The accompanying musicians besides the vocalist are Mridangam player to provide percussion music, violin or veena player or both to provide instrumental melodic music, and cymbal players who usually conduct the orchestra and recites the solicitous or mnemonic rhythm, that's rhythm syllable. Next new topic. Treaty of Purandar was signed in June 1665 between Maratha King Shivaji and Raja Jai Singh representing Aurangzeb. The term of the treaty were: out of 35 forts held by the Shivaji, 23 forts with the surrounding territory which yielded a revenue for 4 lakhs of huns every year were to be surrendered to the Mughals, while the remaining 12 forts with the annual income of 1 lakh huns were to be left to the Shivaji on condition of the service and loyalty to the throne. Devotee worth 4 lakhs of the huns a year in the Bijapuri Kokon, which Shivaji had already held, was granted to him. In addition, Bijapur devotee worth 5 lakh huns a year in the uplands Balaghat, which Shivaji was conquered, was also granted to him. In return for this, he was to pay 14 lakhs huns in the installment to the Mughals. Shivaji asked to excuse from personal service, hence a mansab of 5,000 was granted in his place to his minor son Sambhaji. Next new topic. King Shivaji supplemented his income by levying a contribution on the neighboring Mughal territories. This contribution, which came to 1/4 of the land revenue, began to the called chauthai. 1/4. Chauthai means 1/4 or chauth. Chauth was a levy imposed on the territory not directly controlled by the Marathas. It was a levy of 25% paid to the Marathas by the adjoining or outside ruler to the Maratha kingdom in order to avoid the Marathas' raid. Sardeshmukhi was imposed by the Shivaji in his own dominion or Swaraj on the basis of the claims of the hereditary Sardeshmukh landlords of the dominion. Thus, it was a claim by the Shivaji as the matter of the right. Unlike a chauth, it was 10% of the rural revenue realized. Thus, it was a tax on landlords and not peasants. Next new topic. Rock cut cave tradition also existed in Odisha. The earlier example of Udaygiri, Khandagiri caves in the vicinity of Bhubaneswar. These caves are scattered and have inscription of Kharwele's king. According to inscription, the caves were meant for Jain monks. There are numerous single-cell excavations. Some have been carved in huge independent boulders and give the shape of animals. The big caves include a cave with a pillar Vardhana with the cells at the back. The upper part of the cells is decorated with the series of the Chaityas, arches and narratives that still continue in the folklores of the regions. The figures in this cave are voluminous, move freely in the picture space, and are excellent example of qualitative carving. Some caves in this complex were excavated later, sometimes in the 8th to 9th century Common Era. Next new topic. Anmol Jeevan Abhiyan, Precious Life campaign in Barmer, Rajasthan has motivated village panchayat and homeowners to add a hand pump and lock cover to tankas associated with the local deities or scare forest groves 10 km away from village. Anmol Jeevan Abhiyan, Precious Life campaign, Barmer in Barmer, Rajasthan. The lightweight hand pumps made of the fiber serve a dual purpose for preventing accident and suicides. 171 suicide cases reported last year. Drawing water from the tank. Campaign has been started jointly by the district administration, United Nations Children Funds, UNICEF and ActionAid. Though the campaign has made the impact during the last 3 to 4 months, it cannot be measured in the quantitative terms at the present because of its continuity, even as the reports of the suicides have gradually reduced. Tanka, it is a traditional rainwater harvesting technique indigenous to the Thar desert region of Rajasthan. Tanka is a cylindrically paved underground pit into which rainwater from the rooftops, courtyards or artificially prepared catchment flows. Other traditional water conservation system in India includes Jalaras, Bawari, Ahar, Pines, etc. Next new topic. Lands grant to the Brahmanas on large scale suggests that Brahmana supremacy continued in Gupta's time. Guptas, who were originally Vaishyas, came to be looked upon the Kshatriyas by the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas represent the Gupta's king as possessing the attributes of the gods, and the Gupta's princess became a great supporter of the Brahmanical order. The caste of proliferated into numerous subcastes. As a result of the two factors, there was no consolidation of the caste. On the one hand, a large number of the foreigners had been assimilated into the Indian society, and each group of the foreigner was considered a kind of Hindu caste. Since the foreigner mainly came to conquest, they were given the status of the Kshatriyas in society. Hunas, who appear in India toward the close to the 5th century, ultimately came to be recognized as one of the 36 clan of the Rajputs. The other reason for their increase in the number of the caste was the absorption of many tribal peoples into a Brahminical society by way of land grants to the ruling chiefs of the tribe was ascribed a respectable origin. But most of the rest of the tribal people were given a low origin, and every tribe now became a kind of the caste in Hindu society. In some way, the position of the Sudras and women improved in this period. They were now permitted to listen the epics and the Puranas. They could also worship a new god called Krishna. From the 7th century onwards, Shudras were mainly represented as agriculturists. In the earlier period, they always appear as servants and slaves and agricultural labor working for their three higher varnas. But during this period, the untouchable increase in the number, especially the Chandelas. The Chandelas appears in society as early as the 5th century before Common Era. By the 5th century AD, their number and become so enormous and their disability so glaring that it attested to the attention of the Chinese pilgrimage. For he informs us that the Chandelas live outside the village and dealt in a meat and flesh. Next new topic. The Guptas, with their seat of the power in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, ruled over the north and western India for about 160 years till the middle of the 6th century AD. The northern India again split up into several kingdoms. The White Hunas established their supremacy over Kashmir, Punjab, and western India from about AD 500 onwards. North and western India passed under the control of about half of the dozen feudatories who parcel out Gupta empire among themselves. Gradually, one of these dynasties ruling at the Thaneshwar in Haryana extended its authority over all the other feudatories. The ruler who brought about was Harshavardhana, AD 606 to 647. Harsha made Kannauj the seat of his power and therefore extended his authority in all directions. During these periods, Patliputra fell on the bad days. Harsha made Kannauj the seat of his power and therefore extended his authority in all the directions. During this period, Patliputra fell on the bad days and Kannauj came to be forefront. The early historian of the Harsha region is reconstructed from the study of the Banabhatta, who was his court poet and who wrote a book called Harsha Charitra. This can be supplemented by the accounts of the Chinese pilgrimage Mimamsa, who visited India in 7th century AD and stayed in the country for about 15 years. Banabhatta, court poet Harshavardhana, book Harsha Charitra. Chinese pilgrimage Mimamsa visited in 7th century in India. Harsha governed his empire on the same lines of the Guptas did, except that his administration had become more feudal and decentralized. Land grants continue to be made to persist for a special service rendered to the state. In addition, Harsha is credited with the grant of the land to the officers by the charters. These grants allow the same concessions to the persist as well allowed by the earlier grants. The feudal practices of the rewarding and paying the officer with the grants of the land seems to have begun under the Harsha. This is the natural because we do not have many coins issued by Harsha. In empire of the Harsha, law and order was not well maintained. The Chinese pilgrimage Mimamsa, about whom special care may have been taken by the government, was robbed of his belonging, although he reports that according to the laws of the land, severe punishment were inflicted for the crime. Next new topic. Mimamsa literally means the art of reasoning and interpretation, but the reasoning was used to provide a justification for various Vedic rituals, and attainment of the salvation was made dependent on their performance. Mimamsa literally means the art of the reasoning and interpretation. According to Mimamsa, the Vedas contain the internal truth. The principal object of this philosophy was to acquire heaven and salvation. Person will enjoy the bliss of the heaven as long as he accumulated act of the virtues last. When his accumulated virtues are exhausted, he will come back to the earth. But if he attains the salvation, he will be completely free from the cycle of the birth and death in the world. In order to attain salvation, Mimamsa strongly recommended the performance of the Vedic sacrifice, which needed the service of the persist and legitimize the social distance between the various varnas. Through the propagation of the Mimamsa, the Brahmanas wanted to maintain their rituals authority and preserve the social hierarchy based on the Brahmanism. Next new topic. Alaudin Khilji, 1296 to 1360, introduced a market policies which was groundbreaking and distinct measures that garnered the interest of the both domestic and international historian. Alaudin Khilji, 1296 to 1360. During the early 14th century, Alaudin Khilji implemented a series of the reforms that included price control through his empire. This involved setting up the fixed prices for a wide range of the commodities such as grains, clothes, slaves, and animals. Alaudin Khilji, price control. Alaudin also prohibited hoardings and regretting the employed overseers and spies who enforce the regulations and impose harsh penalties on those who disobey. According to Barney, Alaudin set up 3 markets in Delhi. First for food grains, second for cloth and expensive items such as sugar, ghee, dairy, fruits, etc. and third for the horse, slaves and cattle. Grains were stored in the government warehouse. Storage was meant for emergency like times of scarcity and famine. Any trader or vendor who cheated in the weights and measures was punished with cutting an equal weights of the flesh from his body. Next new topic. Recent windfall tax on crude oil slashed by the Indian government. Windfall tax refers to the tax levied against the certain industry by the government when economic conditions permit those industry to experience significantly above average profit. Such a economic condition come from the sudden windfall gain to certain business or industry, typically as a result of the geopolitical disruption, natural disaster, or war that causes unusual spike in the demands or supply interruptions. A good example is confrontations between Russia and Ukraine. Windfall tax refers to tax levy against certain industry by the government when economic conditions permit those industries to experience a significantly above average profit. They are also imposed if there is an acute need for the temporary spurt in the public spending at the same time. There have been varying rationales for the government worldwide to introduce a windfall taxes, so redistribution of the unexpected gains when high prices benefit a producer at the expenses of the consumers. Funding social welfare schemes, supplementary revenue streams for the government. Windfall taxes are imposed retrospectively. One of over and above normal taxes are often influenced by unexpected events and they can be causes uncertainty in the market about the futures taxes. IMF says that International Monetary Fund, IMF means International Monetary Fund, says that taxes in response to the price surges may suffer from design problem given their expedite and political nature. It added that introducing a temporary windfall profit tax reduce the future investment because prospective investor will internalize the likelihood of the potential taxes when making the investment decision. Another issue is who should be a tax. Only the big companies responsible for the bulk of the high price sale or smaller company as well. Next new topic. Tughlaq Khan, known in the history by his lateral title of Balban, ascended the throne in 1265. The growing authority of Balban alienated many of the Turkish chiefs who had hoped to continue their former power and influence in the affairs of the government since Nasruddin Muhammad was young and inexperienced. Iltutmish, who is widely regarded as the true founder of the slave dynasty, established the Chalisa. Iltutmish Chalisa. Chahalgani and Chahalgani system. This arrangement comprised of the group of 14 nobles who held significant sway in the governance of the Delhi Sultanate. During the earlier period, Balban held position of the Naib or deputy or Nasruddin Muhammad, whom Balban and had helped in securing the throne in 1246. An era of the centralized government began for the first time. Balban constantly sought to increase the prestige and power of the monarch because he was convinced that this was the only way to face the internal and external dangers facing him. He refused to entertain important government posts for anyone who did not belong to the noble family. He reorganized the military department, Diwan-e-Arz, and the pensions of those soldiers and troops who were no longer fit for the service, while Alaudin Khilji first set up the separate Arz department. Military department means Diwan-e-Arz. Next new topic. MISHTI, Magru Initiative for Shoreline Habitats and Tangible Incomes. MISHTI, that is Magru Initiative for Shoreline Habitats and Tangible Incomes, is a new program declared in the Union Budget 2023. It will facilitate the mangroves plantation along the India's coastline on the salt pan lands. Importance of the MISHTI initiative of mangroves areas are some of the most biodiverse locations in India. They also protect the coastline from the vagaries of the inclement weathers. As climate change increases the incidence of the extreme weather events across the world, mangrove plantation have been shown to make the coastal lands resilient, preventing flooding and land erosion and acting as a buffer for cyclones. They are also excellent carbon sinks and can sequester up to 4 times more carbon than tropical rainforests. MISHTI program will be operated through convergence between Manrega's Campa Fund, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority, Campa Fund, that is Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority, and other sources, which will be game changer to protecting mangroves. Mangrove sampling will be planted along the coastal region of the country. Its main objective is to preserve the mangrove forests. Mangrove forests are spread across Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Odisha, Andaman Nicobar, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. Mangrove forests are spread across the Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Odisha, Andaman Nicobar, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. Distribution of the mangrove covers about 40% of the world. Mangroves cover is found in Southeast Asia and South Asia. India has 3% of the total mangrove cover in South Asia. Mangroves distribution in India mangroves are found in the following states and union territories in India: West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Kerala, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra and Gujarat. The major concentration of mangroves are in the Sundarbans. The major concentration of the mangroves are in the Sundarban deltas and Andaman Nicobar Island. Mangroves are also found in the deltatic areas of the Mahanadi, Godavari and Krishna river basin. West Bengal has 42.45% of the India's mangroves cover, followed by Gujarat 23.66% and Andaman Nicobar Island 12.39%. First West Bengal, second Gujarat and third Andaman Nicobar Island. West Bengal, Gujarat, Andaman Nicobar Island. Thank you. Bye.